Following the FBI's raid into Trump's residence in Mar-a-Lago, and of course this is after it was discovered that he was still keeping sensitive and classified documents that he was not authorized to keep in his residence, he decided to continue using all sorts of crazy defamatory language that targets the FBI, targets the DOJ, and even targets the federal judge who signed off on the necessary warrant so the FBI could conduct that raid in the first place. And that inflammatory language has consequences because, as we've seen, some of his supporters have already carried out acts of violence. Some of his other supporters have specifically said that they're going to carry out acts of violence, like one individual in Pennsylvania, and they've been arrested as a result. But the inflammatory language continues. He says on Truth Social, for instance, and this was over the weekend, "Oh, great. It has just been learned that the FBI, in its now famous raid of Mar-a-Lago, took boxes of privileged attorney-client material and also executive privileged material, which they knowingly should not have taken. By copy of this truth, I respectfully request that these documents be immediately returned to the location from which they were taken. Thank you." So again, he wrote that on Truth Social, and I don't know if he's aware of this, but those aren't really, like, Truth Social isn't the official channel in which you request attorney-client documents to be returned back to you. But nonetheless, everything that he does is meant to direct hatred and violence toward the individuals who, again, legally raided his property after they obtained the warrant from a federal judge and after they had been working with Trump for months to get, like 2 months ago. Bro, you gotta hand over these documents, like you gotta do it. You can't, let's stop playing this game. 2 months pass, he refuses to do it. And yeah, the FBI gets that warrant and they conduct the raid, but he makes himself out to be some sort of victim. By the way, it has not been confirmed that they took documents pertaining to attorney-client privilege, and I would take anything Trump says with a grain of salt. But he didn't leave it there. He also wrote, quote, "Just left a large gathering of people and all they could talk about was the complete and total stranglehold that the radical left Democrats have over the DOJ and FBI." The FBI is led, by the way, by Christopher Wray, who was appointed by Donald Trump and confirmed by Republican senators during his term. It shouldn't be that way. Nobody goes after BLM. You sure about that? Antifa or the rest, despite murder, beatings, and burning down large sections of cities. A very unfair double standard, he argues. They definitely won't attack the home of a former Democrat president, nor should they. It is all so out of control, great simmering anger. And so, again, the inflammatory language continues. Acts of violence are carried out, threats of violence are carried out. And then later, Trump does a classic Trump move of speaking from both sides of his mouth, right? On one hand, he riles people up and he directs violence and attention toward various groups of people that he disagrees with or individuals who are rightfully investigating him and his potential criminal acts. And then he turns around and says, "I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to calm everybody down." And he did that during an interview with Fox News Digital. Trump said he will do whatever he can to help the country after the FBI's raid of his Mar-a-Lago home last week, telling Fox News Digital that the temperature has to be brought down, while stressing that the American people are not going to stand for another scam. In fact, he says, people are so angry at what is taking place, whatever we can do to help, because the temperature has to be brought down in the country. If it isn't, terrible things are going to happen. So Cenk, he loves the violence, as we learned on January 6th, as violence was being carried out on his behalf and he refused to step in to stop it.
Yeah, so I think you made him sound a little too sultry there, but it's
my bad.
It's more goofy than that. The anger is terrible. It's a simmering anger. Everybody should be super, super mad and do something about it. But I'm trying to bring the temperature down. Okay, trying to bring it down. But it is a scam, and no one will stand for this unjust scam again. And they should, if they are so angry, they should do something about it. But I'm the guy who's trying to cool things down. Okay, no, you're not. All you're doing is stoking the fires, and you love it. As Anna pointed out on January 6th, they told him, "Hey, look, these guys are attacking the Capitol," and he's told him don't do anything. They said they're chanting about murdering Mike Pence. And his chief of staff came back in and told others, President Trump approves. He didn't do anything about it. We're still having a conversation about this monster. And that's because, again, a giant percentage of the country likes monsters. After he didn't do anything about his supporters trying to murder his own vice president. In fact, he egged them on with a tweet. We showed you that as well. After he knew that the guy's life was in danger. I mean, the guy's a monster of monsters. He burned his ex-wife on a golf course for a tax cut. I mean, this guy, there's no bounds to him. And yet, a third of the country at least goes, if there's one politician we know is definitely not lying, it's Donald Trump. You're like, how could that make any sense to you guys? And I always say shoe on the other foot. I apply that to us, but I apply it to them as well. Do you think Obama could have just walked out? Do you think he should be able to walk out of the White House with nuclear secrets? No, of course not. I mean, why would you, right wing, why would you want that? What if he sold it? What if he wasn't going to sell it, but he was going to keep it as a memento? And somebody walks into his house, a cleaning lady takes it, and they sell it to the Russians, the Arabs, or whoever it might be, Saudi Arabia, etc. Like, that's obviously wrong, right? They're like, not if Trump does it. If Trump does it, then it's awesome, man. He stood over the documents and he was like, dude, I declassify you. I mean, I don't know if that was after the FBI planted him or before the FBI planted him, but they planted him and he didn't know anything about him. But he knew enough to declassify him.
I just find it fascinating that the same people who think they need like bazookas to fight back against a tyrannical government are the same people who are calling for a tyrannical government. Really, think about it.
100%.
They're calling for a government that treats its president as if he is above the law, regardless of what he does, regardless of what criminality he might engage in, regardless of what kind of treason he might be committing. I mean, that just blows my mind. It really does. Because to me, if you really love the country, then you understand that, ensuring that one individual has unlimited power and is always above the law, that is an incredibly dangerous precedent to set, and that's what they're fighting for, tooth and nail. They really think, no, Trump should be able to take incredibly sensitive, classified documents that he doesn't even have the ability to declassify some of these documents because they're so sensitive that they can only be read in a government facility.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. The facts don't matter. They just don't care because they love their daddy. It's like little kids thinking about their literal daddy. Daddy's my hero. I'm gonna protect my daddy no matter what. Well, daddy's screwing you over. And daddy might be engaged in some incredibly dangerous crimes that put this nation's national security at risk. But who cares? They love their daddy.
So the right wing is so proud of themselves. They figured out that politicians in general are corrupt. Congrats, okay? So low bar, you cleared it. You're right, most of the politicians are corrupt. That doesn't mean that Donald Trump is not corrupt.
No, they love daddy being corrupt. Daddy can be corrupt.
Yeah, no, but
daddy can be corrupt.
To Anna's point, it's not just that they're like, oh, okay, we found the one uncorrupt politician. No, they go the other direction. They go, Trump is allowed to be corrupt. He's allowed to take nuclear secrets home. He's allowed to do anything he wants with them. He's allowed to threaten the Ukrainians to get a political deal for himself to attack his political opponent. But if Biden did that, if Biden called the Ukrainians and said, hey, I'm not gonna help you unless you attack Trump right now. They'd be like, oh, look at it, it's corruption, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, their heads exploding. Trump does 10 times worse. They're like, that's awesome. We need a strong leader who's willing to be corrupt. Okay, there's nothing you could do to help them. I mean, we could play these games. We're right about everything, and it's so easy to defeat them. Okay, just ask them, whenever Trump does something, do you think Kamala Harris should be allowed to do the same thing? And watch their heads explode. Because they have no answer, they're never gonna have an answer. Okay, if Mike Pence can unilaterally decide that Trump won the election, can Kamala Harris do that? No way, man, only 2 Republicans get to break the law, not the Democrats, okay? And then, okay, can Kamala Harris take home the secrets and maybe sell our nuclear codes or whatever else to the Chinese? That's what Kamala Harris, the commie traitor, are doing. But Trump's doing that. I love it when Trump does that. Well, okay, then nobody can help you because you refuse to have intelligent thought. I don't know how to communicate with you. We're not talking the same language. Okay, then celebrate how corrupt and awesome and evil and criminal your leader is. Congrats.
Yep. Don't worry, they will.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.